Dina Legland shares her experiences from her chapter in Action Takers Who Get Shit Done, offering some incredibly practical advice on how to overcome fears and achieve inner peace while living a life filled with joy and freedom. So stay with us for an inspiring conversation that'll motivate you to take action and conquer your own fears. Don't go away. We'll be right back with the Writer's Corner live show.
Introducing Books with Bridgetti, a lineup of industry experts, award-winning authors and...
Apologize for that. We will be right back with Writer's Corner
Imagine
live
a
show.
world where the lines of reality blur with the fantastical. Embark on journeys from humble beginnings to the pinnacles of literary greatness. On the Writer's Corner, we delve into the lives of unique wordsmiths, known for their compelling storytelling. They are artisans who craft fantastical realms, etched in our memory long after the final page is turned. Every tale begins with a single word, a single idea. Authors create sensations that keep you on the edge of your seat. Witness how they transform setbacks into stepping stones, use refusals to spark growth, and turn rejections into catalysts for new inspiration. Witness the diversity in writing as it gives birth to a vast array of genres, from drama to mystery to children's stories, fantasy, and reality. Join us as we uncover sources of inspiration and the magic that defines the author's craft. Find out how authors breathe life into their characters and meticulously craft narratives and plots that captivate readers. Get a sneak peek into upcoming works, and join us as we celebrate literary greatness, only on the Writer's Corner. We don't just celebrate best-selling Amazon and New York Times authors, but also indie authors. Join us on the journey from the birth of a tale to the creation of a masterpiece, only on the Writer's Corner live show. Stay tuned.
If you just joined us, then welcome to the Writer's Corner live show. If you are not yet following us on our social media channels, please do, because that's where you'll get notified the next time we go live. And if you haven't met me yet, I'm Bridgetti Lim Banda from Cape Town in South Africa. And on today's show, we're going to be talking to Dina Legland. Our show is made possible by Creative Edge, StreamYard, and BeLive Media. Unfortunately, my co-host Mary Elizabeth Jackson is unable to join us this week, but she definitely will be back next week on the Writer's Corner live show. Now, if you haven't met our guest yet, Dina Legland is a certified life and wellness coach. She's also a registered nurse and EMT with over 30 years experience. Dina is the founder of Wellness Warriors for Life and empowers you to overcome your fears and achieve inner peace. So without any further ado, let's welcome her to the show, shall we? Dina, welcome to the show. I am so glad that we could finally meet and have you on the Writer's Corner live show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such a privilege to be here and an honor. And I truly, truly appreciate you for doing this. And I'm just so excited to be here.
An absolute pleasure. And we're going to dive right in because after doing the show for 6 years, we realized that 30 minutes is absolutely gone in a blink of an eye.
So true.
Now, your career has been incredibly diverse over the years, from nursing to life coaching. How has your experiences in the medical field influenced your approach to wellness and coaching?
I actually had two life-altering experiences. As a nurse, I climbed the ladder in home care, and I went from a field nurse all the way up to director of a home care agency. And with the stress and the workload and raising a family and being married, I became very overweight. And I never forget the day that I walked into my mom's bedroom. It was January 2010. And when I walked into her room, she was bedbound and she had MS, she had cancer, she had diabetes, and she handed me a piece of paper. And when I looked at the piece of paper, it said DNR, do not resuscitate. And it took me by surprise. I mean, although I've seen plenty of these do not resuscitate orders, but it took my breath away. And as I hung it up on the wall, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and I didn't realize who it was. And it was actually me. And it looked like the woman in the bed. And I knew something had to change, and that change was me. So I took the bull by the horns and I said I needed to get healthy and fit. And I did. It took me a year to lose 110 pounds. And my mom got to see me at a, being very healthy and fit. And then she ended up passing away. And the second altering life situation that happened was exactly 6 years after that. I got diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer. And I went through a year of chemo, a bilateral mastectomy, and till this day, I'm still dealing with the cancer, although I am in remission, which is an amazing journey. And I'm so happy that I'm in remission. But it's also taught me a lot about my own fears and how to overcome them.
Wow. As I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking, it must have been quite a moment. And I can imagine how it must have taken your breath away. There's something different about getting a DNR from a parent as opposed to getting one from anyone else. Because I think it's like reality hits you right in the face.
Yes.
Because it highlights your own mortality, and that could be you, as you said, you seeing yourself in that position. It's a very vulnerable moment and something I think you never can forget.
No. And my mom, we had a love-hate relationship, so to speak. And she begged me. When she handed me that piece of paper, she begged me. She's like, can you please take care of yourself? It's your turn. I am not well. I'm not going to be here much longer, but you need to take care of yourself for you.
I totally hear that. And, it's a strange thing when we now realize we always spoke about the older people and when it hits you that, wow, we are now the older people.
Yeah, that year I was turning 45 and I was just like,
Hey.
And here I am 7, 8 years later, and it's just like, wow, like you look back and you say the things that you have gone through make you who you are as you keep going in life.
Absolutely. And you have to keep going. Now you've mentioned that cancer saved your life and your fears almost killed you. Can you elaborate a little bit about that and how it transformed your life and your perspective of life?
Yes. Actually, when I was driving home from work the day I got the phone call, and the radiologist said to me, where are you? And I said, I'm on the road on my way home from work. And she said, pull over to the side of the road. And I knew, because when somebody says that to you, it's like, all right, I went through all my tests, mammograms, sonograms, biopsies, and she was the one who told me that I had an aggressive form of breast cancer. And I had a home, and I just kept thinking about, how am I going to tell my husband, my daughters, my dad who lived across the street from me? And all I kept thinking about was, nobody's going to love me. I'm going to be judged because now I have to take care of myself. And a lot of people are like, what are you, crazy? You just got a diagnosis that could be fatal and you're worried about not being judged and loved. It's because I was always the caregiver. And now I needed to be taken care of. And that was very hard for me to do. I knew I was a caregiver at the age of 5. I would help the kids in the neighborhood if they skinned their knees. I became an emergency medical technician. I went to nursing school. Like it's part of me. It's who I am. And now I had to say, nope, there's certain things I can't do now, or I just can't physically or mentally or spiritually do right now. And now I have to ask for help. And that was so hard for me to do. And I realized that these fears stemmed back from childhood. So I did a lot of inner work during this cancer journey. And I'm still doing inner work. And I created something called the Fearless Freedom Formula, which are the 4 stages of letting go of fear.
Wow. I relate to a lot of what you say, reflecting on my own life and who I am, and knowing from my own personal experience how hard it is to accept help when you're always the one who was caring for others and giving help. It's really
Yes.
hard to be on the receiving end of that. It's a lot of adjustment and inner work, and I think it's an ongoing process when you find yourself in a vulnerable situation where you need help and assistance. What tools or strategies do you find most effective in helping clients conquer their fears and achieve their inner peace? And are those the same things you applied in your own life?
Yes. Actually, it's the first part of it is really identifying the fear. What am I most afraid of? And once you figure that out, and how I help my clients get through that is by asking questions as we're working together. And 9 times out of 10, when someone feels that they know what their fear is, then we really go into stage 2, which is reflecting on the cause. Where did they come from? For me, it stemmed back from childhood. For others, it could be from childhood. It can be from some type of trauma that happened or their thought process. And then stage 3 is the tools that I help my clients use. And just a few of those tools is things that are very, very simple. Deep breathing techniques, positive affirmation, positive self-talk. It's also about fueling your body with nutritious food and drinking your water and movement. And once I start to learn what a client loves to do, those are some of the tools that we use to let go of that fear. And also visualization, actually visualizing yourself at the goal that you want. And when we get to stage 4, I do a little humor here, because stage 4, when most people hear the word stage 4, that means it's not a great outcome. Where stage 4 is celebration and resilience. You get to celebrate. I don't celebrate. The person I'm working with gets to celebrate their resilience. They learned with these tools how to identify it, where it's coming from, and then celebrate by using the tools that they got through it. And I always teach and express to my clients that these fears don't go away. New ones might surface, but the ones that are there from childhood, you learn now how to move and navigate them so much quicker with these tools, so that you don't sit in that negativity. We promote positivity.
I was listening to you and your tools, and the one I wanted to pick up on quickly was that breathing. Oftentimes when a child is overwhelmed, they forget to breathe, and we say to them, stop, just breathe. And it's amazing how, as an adult, we can still do that. That when we're stressed out, we forget to breathe. And just having somebody at your side and saying to you, take a moment, breathe.
Right.
It has a calming effect, isn't it? And it's so simple, but
It
it can have
is.
such a profound effect to have somebody. It's almost like someone is giving you life by saying to you, breathe. You can do this.
Exactly. It's that cheerleader that we need. Also sometimes just sitting in silence for 2 to 3 to 5 minutes. It's also, some people love to just journal about it. And when people think that they need to meditate or journal, they feel like they need to be doing it for a very long time. It could be 2 sentences of journaling. It could be 2 minutes of meditation or breathing. It's just so powerful, but simple. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, like you mentioned,
Ab-
especially as
ab-
adults.
yeah. Now, you mentioned just at the end, um, how you integrate humor with your coaching. Can you elaborate just a little bit on why you believe humor is so important in
Right.
overcoming your fear?
Believe it or not, laughter helps our immune system. So a good laugh, a hearty laugh. And one of the things I do in my evening routine is that I write down 3 things: what I accomplished, what I'm grateful for, and what I laughed about for the day. And when I was going through my chemo treatments, I was completely bald. And I used to wear a scarf or a hat, or something, because it was the winter time, it was cold. And I belonged to the fire department in my community. And I used to go to the firehouse, and a lot of the old time, we call them old time firemen, are completely bald. So I would go up behind them, rub the top of their heads, pull off my beanie or my hat and say, look, my head's shinier than yours. And they would be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? I'm like, it's fine. You're bald. Why can't I be bald? So it's things like that that got me through my journey. When I was losing my hair, it was Thanksgiving, and my brother is completely bald. So I actually took like a clump of my hair and I went downstairs, because I was upstairs in my bathroom, and I put it on his head. And I was like, here, you got some hair. And they all freaked out. And I am laughing so hard that they ended up laughing. I'm like, we have to have a little fun with this.
You absolutely, a sense of humor makes a huge, huge difference. Now, if somebody is currently watching the show, or they watch this on the rerun later, and what advice would you give to someone who is currently feeling paralyzed by fear? Because that happens.
Yes. Everybody's journey is so different. One size does not fit all. And what I would say is, really sit and listen to yourself. Find what works for you. Find maybe someone to talk to. Find that individual that will listen. When we think we're worried about something or fearful about something, write it out. Believe it or not, writing, whether you're angry, sad, happy, worried, it's really these simple techniques to finding what that fear is and being able to use certain tools and strategies to work through it, because that's where you find clarity and strength to become a happier, healthier, more positive version of yourself.
Wow. Uh, Now I know you can't share anything confidential about your clients, but could you perhaps describe a success story from your coaching practice where a client made a remarkable transformation?
Yes. One of my clients came to me because she was so fearful of taking a medication that women take when they're in remission so the cancer doesn't come back. It was called tamoxifen. And she was so worried about taking this medication. And because she heard me on a Facebook Live speaking about this, and she reached out, we started working together. And what ended up happening was she wasn't afraid of the medication. As we started to unravel what was bothering her, it was her anxiety about driving. And it's like peeling away the layers of the onion. She's fearful, she's anxious, but as we started working, like I said, she was like, I can't go to my doctor's appointments. I don't go anywhere. I don't drive to the store. I don't go anywhere with my husband. So we worked through that with using some tools like visualization. I said, when were you the most happy when you were driving? Driving to grandma's house in the country. I said, do you have a picture of yourself in that car that you used to drive? And she goes, yes. I said, hang that on the refrigerator, the mirror in the bathroom, wherever. And she kept looking at that picture and kept looking at it. And then she said one day, I want to get in the car. And she would drive a couple of blocks. And then she'd come back. And then she drove further and came back. And we actually started doing some deep breathing techniques when she sat in the car. And to make a very long story short, she ended up overcoming that fear and anxiety of driving, that she went back to work. She went on trips with her husband. They had a better relationship. She was just overall so much happier. And she had anxiety for 30 years. And she goes, I've went to every specialist and nobody was really truly helped me like you did, because you listened and you challenged me and you held me accountable and you were my biggest cheerleader. And I was so grateful for that. I truly was.
I can imagine an experience like that truly takes your breath away when you realize that you had that kind of impact on somebody's life. Now, I often say in many instances, even when I was raising my children, I used to say it takes a village, because nothing happens in silo. It's never just you. It's always the village around you. And I've
Yes.
noticed that, in the way that you deal with your clients, that, community is a very important component in
Yes.
the wellness journey that you craft for people. How do you encourage your clients to build and to maintain a supportive network around them?
That's an amazing question. And it is so true that it does take a village. I encourage my clients, whether they're one-on-one clients or even group clients, because group clients, they have each other. They learn and feel, and it's a safe environment for people to open up. So I encourage people to find their village if they don't have one, like their, spouse, significant other, children, adult children, parents. For me, community, because I belong to a fire department, they were so supportive. Finding groups out there that will support you during this journey, or whatever life altering situation you're going through, or just in general, if you want to feel connected, there are plenty of groups out there. Depends on where people live. There's something called Meetup. There are groups out there. If you're going through a medical issue, speak to the doctor, the social worker, and find out what groups can help you and support you. And some people need to find some professional help as well. That one-on-one coaching or a therapist, that's one of the things that I really want people to realize. There is no shame in asking for professional help at all.
I totally agree. And I from personal experience, I know the value of having a community around you and having a safe space where you can be yourself and ask the questions. And I so often see people saying, I feel stupid for asking this, and we constantly try and remind each other there's no such thing as a stupid question. If you have a question, ask the question. And almost 10 times out of 10, you'll find that the question you posed is exactly what other people wondered.
Exactly.
You have the courage to ask it first.
Yes. It's difficult for people to be vulnerable. There are people out there that feel like, and this is how I grew up with, my parents and grandparents. You don't tell anybody our business. Whatever going on in the family is what stays in the family. And that's difficult when you do want your community and you want that love and support from people that are going through it versus people that, say, I know how you're doing. No, if you're not in my shoes, how do you know how I'm feeling? Whereas, in the cancer community, there are those groups of people that are actually going through it.
I know, and I often remind myself and others that one needs to be careful about how you phrase things and say things, because, every situation, there's no two situations that are ever the same, because, we're different people. We have different circumstances. We have different backgrounds. So, if you lost a parent doesn't mean you understand what it's like for another person who lost a parent, because your situations are different.
Exactly.
Your relationships with that parent were different to someone else's. So you can't possibly know what someone else feels. See, I told you 30 minutes go by so quickly.
No, my goodness.
One last quick question. What motivated you to want, despite your own difficulties, what made you want to become a wellness coach to help other people?
I actually became a coach to help others find the solution to whatever they're going through in less time than I did. I mean, I'm in my 5th decade, and it took me till my breast cancer journey, which was the beginning of my 5th decade, to realize this. And I don't want that for anybody else. I truly want to empower, support, inspire others to let go of what they're most afraid of now versus years from now.
Dina, that's wonderful. Oh my goodness. And I think that's a great note to end this on. And we have to invite you back into the show, because I could ask you another 20 questions and just talk for hours, because this is such a huge topic. But
Yes.
we're going to have to end here. And I want to say to everyone who watched us and all the different channels, thank you so much for staying with us and for watching this episode. And if you're going to be watching this on the replay, thank you for watching that too. And I'll be back next week with Mary Elizabeth Jackson on another episode of the Writers' Corner live show. Take care, Dina, and goodbye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Writers' Corner live show. 30 minutes of insightful author conversations with some of the biggest names in the industry, including award-winning authors and international indie sensations. Join us on the next episode of the Writers' Corner live show.